Welcome to the Good Life by Design podcast with me, Carly Flynn, and my lovely design friends, Henry McTavish and Hamish Dodd. We are a podcast designed to inspire you to truly live the good life. Hi, lads. How are you doing today?
Righty-ho.
Good.
Very good. And this week on the pod, we're going to talk about something that we have to keep reminding Hamish when he's on the podcast to do. It's called focus, sweetie. And I'm probably every designer's worst nightmare because pre-renovation and throughout the whole process, I have created Pinterest boards and sent them off to various designers, the kitchen designer, the bathroom people, and said, this is what I like. And possibly there's been about a good different ideas going on.
I'm back. All right, we're talking Pinterest boards?
Yeah.
Oh, whoever created them will burn in the fiery hells somewhere, I'm sure. No, look, Pinterest boards. Like, you know, when I'm not tech savvy, so maybe that's where some of my my lack of interest in Pinterest came from. And a few clients in the early days were like, "Hey, we've created Pinterest boards," and I'm like, "Cool, no, we'll share them with you." I'm like, "Oh, crikey, I better get the Pinterest app." Wow, that blew my mind. And
focus, sweetie. Focus, sweetie.
I'm focusing, and everything came in on these boards, and I must admit it was good. I think there can be a saturation point for people when they get onto Pinterest because it keeps prompting you with things you might like, right? That's a problem. And I now have Pinterest pages. I have I'm building an old vintage motorcycle up, and I'm hot rodding it, so I have a page. Now, what I'm seeing with this is how easy it is for people, particularly when it comes to design, to skew. And if you look at some of the early stuff that I saved compared to some of the later stuff, they are two completely different looking motorcycles, right? So I can see now that I've put myself in the shoes, how someone who's looking for their kitchen can say, oh, I really love that green kitchen. And then you realize over here that they started off their bottle green. Over here, they're more of a muted green. And you keep looking, and some have got handles, some don't have handles, some have got paneled cabinet fronts, some are just plain and lacquered, some have got marble tops, some have got all manner of things going on, and you're looking at them going, they're all nice, but we cannot squeeze all of this into it, so which one is it you want? And I think that's the trap with Pinterest, is it's continually firing really cool things at you, but you can't have them all.
And I think too, Hamish, when you're doing something over a period of time, which is when you're doing a renovation, you're exactly right. A year ago, the kitchen photos that I had saved versus the ones that I would save now. I mean, dear Tyler, love you. You've done such a great job. But every few days I think, oh, I wonder if I could just add a little bit more, fluted glass in, seeing as that's really in right now. I mean, how frustrating is that, Hamish? Henry, or can it be a good starting point? Because in the old days, we'd just go into a kitchen studio place and, we didn't have so much choice, whereas now there's so much available.
I think there's a lot of choice, but, kind of once again, it kind of comes back to the person. I think, kind of initially, and it's something Hamish and I have had with particular clients that we've shared. When they start off with something random, they'll be all over the place. They've heard a key word. Scandinavian's one of those things, kind of like, oh, everyone's doing Scandinavian. And you ask them what part of Scandinavian you actually like, and they don't know. They just know that Scandinavian's quite a trendy word. And you start going through their inspirations and things like that, and it just starts segueing kind of often completely different directions. And with the Pinterest board, it's, the spaghetti of the mind. Mm-hmm. Often it's kind of like you just like a million things and you just kind of vomit it out in one area, which Hamish and I had a fantastic client.
Yes, we do.
And they were absolutely fantastic. And, kind of probably the key concept for them was they were just incredibly happy, magical people that had a love affair with Spain, and the feeling of it. But going through the boards, I mean, Hamish, you could probably talk about it more. It was just A cluster?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about setting expectations, and a lot of it even comes down to the architecture of the property you've got. So I think the whole Scandi thing has worked quite well because it kind of works with most architecture. Inside it's colours and materials that tend to work quite well with New Zealand architecture. We have big long rooms, lots of windows. We like timber, that kind of thing fits in. Interestingly, for Scandi, for people who don't understand what Scandinavian is, it's set from like the late 40s through to the early to mid 60s. That's your Scandinavian period. And it was a heavy use of timber, built-in furnishing. Colours were slightly muted tones, and it's an era. It's also what we call mid-century. So mid-century architecture and Scandinavian architecture is the same. It was never called Scandinavian architecture. It was called mid-century, but we've recoined the phrase Scandi because everyone's in love with the Scandinavian nations and their use of timber because it looks very natural. Now, people can segue off, and as Henry alluded to, we had a lovely client. Now, they started off in Spain, they moved to Morocco, and then when it came to choosing the exterior colours for the house, I was sent a picture, and it was Greece. So I was like, it was the white plaster with the blue dome. I mean, the house that was being built was a relatively standard weatherboard home with a corrugated iron roof. And so how do you apply that across to the architecture? And Henry, tell us where the house was.
So that was Pauanui, so the subdivision. So, it's kind of, everything has to be quite relatable to the actual story and location in that. It's really easy with all these, with Pinterest and the computer and that, because you can journey to any part of the planet. I mean, you can go to Mars if you wanted to. That could be really inspiring, but it's still not going to work in Pauanui.
No.
So on that, as the person that's had the spaghetti brain and vomited out all sorts of different ideas and given them to the architect and the builder and the designers, one of the things that I have found real merit in is once I've made my decision, and I like things to be narrowed down, and I guess that's where people like yourselves help, because you get presented an A and B option, not an A to Z option, And so the mood board, the actual physical, tangible flat lay of my carpet, my tiles, my hardware, that, to look at that and to put the A4 resin paint cards next to that, it's sort of narrowed my focus, and I found that's been really helpful.
Because how did you, for you, I think some people can cope with mood boards, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. But, kind of Hamish, do you start with the mood board with
I
a
hate
lot of
mood
ideas,
boards.
or do you just start with, kind of that one key piece? It might be the floral sofa that is really going to define the room.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's just so many different stories going on, and it's just not going to
look, everyone normally, and so it's about sitting down and having a conversation. Could be the kitchen, could be a couch they bought, could be a piece of art that the scale of it's so big, or the way the colors move in the art they love, and so that's going to set the scene and the mood for the space. There's many things. It could be the flooring. You mentioned earlier on about having dogs and pets on hardwood floors. So maybe the floor is going to start dictating what the rest of the spaces end up flowing on from. Well, this is the floor we like. This is the timber vinyl planking that we want to put down. The one we like is in this sort of mid, slightly grayed out brown wash, which is fashionable. And then, we want some timber in the kitchen, so that'll tie to the timber in the kitchen. So you get this continuity of flow through the project, and it's all started on the floor because of the dog. Honestly, the craziest thing I've ever worked on was a house that was being fully renovated because a lady bought a new duvet cover for her bed. And I kid you not. And her husband said to me, he goes, I'll give you a rundown of how this worked, Hamish. And I was like, okay. And he said, so my wife bought a new duvet cover, and she said, then wanted a new headboard. She bought a new headboard and she realized it didn't work with the paint colors in the room. So she got the room repainted, which then didn't match the carpet. So the carpet got changed. When the carpet got changed, it didn't really tie with the bathrooms that were currently tiled. So they thought, why not? Let's bite the bullet and renovate the entire place. I mean, quite exceptional, really, how a duvet cover set the wheels in motion and set the theme for the rest of the house. That's what she saw. It's what she liked, and she purchased it, and away we went. So, yeah, it's how to whittle these things down and find a start point. But I find they typically pop up pretty quickly if you actually just sit down and have a conversation. This is the thing, Henry. It's about listening to the client and talking to them. And I don't even take notes on my first meeting. My first meeting, I don't charge for it. I go along and I spend an hour. I will drink your coffee. And if you want to make me a yummy little treat to eat, I will eat your yummy treat. And I just talk. And sometimes it's 2 hours. I've had a 3-hour one where I just sat there.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it blows you away. I mean, no one would think that I could talk for that long. But yeah, you know, and it was, and these are just the conversations. I'm chatting, we're talking about things. And very quickly, we start to peel back the fluff that's around the outside and get to the core of it. Because when you've got someone who's not your mum, your friend, your children, whoever you're asking about ideas from, and it's someone that's sitting opposite you don't know, and they look at you and they go, okay, so of these 3 bench tops you've kind of talked about, which one do you actually like? They always answer and go, oh, well, I want the marble, but I want Corian to have the sink formed into one piece. The only way you can do that is Corian. And I go, okay, well, there's our bench top and that's sorted. And they look at you with like wonderment that you've managed to make a decision. I've done nothing. I've just asked them, which is the one? Because everyone actually knows inside. If you push them, and 9 times out of 10, that was the first thing they looked at, and they've gone off on a traveling Wilbury expedition all the way around to find other stuff.
Well, again, that comes back to confidence and soliciting other people's opinions, and you have to be careful how many people's opinions you ask. So in order to focus, Sweetie, on this, as we near the end of our topic for this podcast, Henry, one final tip from you on how best to focus.
Be confident in who you are and go for what you love.
Brilliant.
And everything will start, you know, kind of forming from that, but have a voice.
Yeah, and do your renovation or your build or your interior.
Get someone like Hamish to bring it back in to kind of make it happen.
Yes, you've just pushed all the Pinterest boards onto me, haven't you, Henry?
If you like what you're hearing and would like to get in touch with us, then the best way to contact us is via our Instagram page at The Good Life by Design. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel if you'd like to see the boys' varying array of patterned shirts. And if you and like our podcast and share it with your friends, and then we can keep doing what we love to do, which is talk good design and the good life by design with 3 mates.
Sorry, just to add to that. No, come on to we're also on Facebook as well. One thing we really want to do is to hear from you. Send through some images, get some ideas, let's start a conversation. You know, we're here for you, you're here for us, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
I feel like we're going to get a spaghetti vomit picture sent through to us now.
Bye, Hamish.
Bye.
Bye.